Hello. Hey, this is Jorge Estrada, District of Columbia, DuPont Circle, Mutatio Formulae. Okay. So first of all, I have my 4 anthology storyteller performance showcases that will be taking place in just a few weeks. I will be covering songs of every genre, decade of the mainstream and underground of the last nearly 100 years of pop history, um, based of based upon um, all of the very uppermost, toppermost of pop history um, of the last 100 years, who are members of my team, of my Mutatio Formulae Legion, of live performance, studio projects, production teams, who are the members of my pantheons of 800 plus of the very top, of the very uppermost, toppermost of pop history's last 100 years, or to be more specific, of the last 60 plus years, who did all of A to Z musically and historically with the very uppermost, toppermost marquee monarchs of pop history's last 100 years. My Instagram pantheon, my Facebook pantheon, and of course, my Crux Crew Core Legion Familia of the DMV, as in District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia. Okay. So that's coming. Those showcases are coming. I'll just shorthand it. I have 9 eternal events left. One was conducted last year. In my interview with the Vice President of IT and Operations for Busy Bone of Bone Thugs and Harmony on iHeart.com, that show called Vigilantes Radio Live. And I'm going, by the way, I'm sniffing because I'm going through a nasal and throat irrigation process in advance of my performances. So I'm gutting out all this stuff from the inside of my nose and throat and chest cavity. So you might hear me cough, sneeze. Right. I know my hair is all over the place. Let me do this. Okay. All right. So I know it's uncombed, all of that. I just said, let me just knock this out. Okay. So real quick here. So that's what's coming up. So that interview has picked up about 8,000 to 10,000 hours of watch time since March of 2022. So that leaves me with 9 events. In the next 2 weeks, I will be knocking off 4 of the remaining 9 events, which are the showcases that I just described over the last several minutes. That'll bring me down to 5 events. This video right here is one of the last 5 events. Okay, so it's a total of 10. I knocked out one of them last year. That leaves 9 eternal events. This video is one of the remaining 9 events that I'm knocking out right now. And I'm going to make it shorter, in and out, in the form and fashion of a bullet point checklist. Okay, I just wanted to get this out of the way first. Okay, all right. So I'm now starting Eternal Event 7, titled The Jorge Estrada, District of Columbia, Nuked All Clearism, Greatest of Earth Life, Human History, Star Trek Odyssey. 1994, comma, leapfrog to 1999 to 2006 AD. So we're going to do that. Then the next video will be 2006 to 2013. Then the next video will be 2013 to 2023. Then we're going to go back to when my most imperial, majestic Romano Emperor Adonis' father first landed, settled, conquered, and eternally cemented we the Estradas of the District of Columbia and of the very north central point and star of Nova, North Arlington, Virginia. Back in 1966, up to the time he had his flock and entourage around him in DuPont Circle, Northwest DC from 1966 to 1969. Then saw my mother perched on the park bench in DuPont Circle Park, March of 1970, for the first time and walked up to her. Up to 1972, then the video after that, 1976 to 1981. And the video after that, 1981 to 1989, then 1989 to 1993, then 1993 to 1996, and then 1996 right back to 1999. And the John Lennon Strawberry Field Imagine Circle in West Central Park, directly across from Building 1 West 72nd Street, the Dakota building, where he was most tragically and horrifically shot and killed in front of Yoko Ono that night, the 8th of December, 1980. It'll make sense why I'm going back to that landmark and site. So, okay, so let's get started. That took 6.5+ minutes, not bad. Okay, 1994. It all started when I saw the biopic movie of The Doors, as in Jim Morrison and The Doors. That was circa, I believe that was 1994. That was the first half of 1994. Then later that July of 1994, I went to the Pink Floyd concert at RFK Stadium for the Division Bell tour. But we'll get into that later, not right now. Then I know these are amazing stories that I will share. Hold on. And then I went into the Haight-Ashbury area of San Francisco, California, that October, November of 1994, and came back. But that was the beginning of the entire circle. We're going to leapfrog now to 1999. So it's late 1999. I take $1,000 in cash in my pocket, a bag of clothing and items, and a guitar and a guitar case that I can't even play a single note or chord of. And at the time, I couldn't even hit or sustain a single C note. But I went and checked into an international hostel on 103rd and Amsterdam Avenue, nearby Columbia University in Harlem, New York City, New York, at the tail end of 1999. In the 1 month that I stayed there, long story short, I was befriended and proposed to by the direct descendant of the Kauai family, as in the Kauai Musical Instruments Company. So she is the either granddaughter or great-granddaughter of Kauai, who was mentored by Yamaha in the 1920s, who then went on as Yamaha's apprentice to form his own company named Kauai, as in the Kauai piano and keyboard, used by the biggest performers and stars of the 20th and 21st century all over the earth, i.e., if you ever saw the Prince movie Under the Cherry Moon, right at the very beginning of the movie in the hotel bar lounge, Prince is playing an all-white Yamaha piano with gold lettering that says Yamaha on the backside of the piano while it's rotating around the patrons of the lounge bar in the 1985 movie Under the Cherry Moon, a follow-up to Purple Rain. I know I could get into my Prince web, but I'm going to stay on point and get in and out and save that for another video and other videos of short videos. This is how I'm doing it now. Okay. So in the 1 month I was there, she befriended me. And my recollection is that she proposed to me in the courtyard of the hostel. I was also told by a man on a wheelchair that he foresaw that I would become one of the most powerful men of this planet's history. It's true. He said that to me. That was late 1999. Then I went ahead and formed an entire band that was all recruited on Avenue A in the Lower East Side and East Village of New York City, New York. Facts. Even though I couldn't play a single note or chord or sustain a C note, I was surrounded by all of these very talented, capable musicians. I named the band at the time A Revolution of Beauty. Now, I formed the first band not only via Avenue A in Alphabet City, Lower East Side, New York City, New York, at the tail end of 1999 and the early beginning of 2000, which was at the end of the millennia, at the end of the century, and at the turn of the new millennia, and at the turn into the new century. Yes. But I also did so at that time out of one of the very first 3 pre-wireless internet cafes on Earth called Alt.Cafe, which was on Avenue A, directly across the street from Tompkins Square Park in the Lower East Side of the East Village of New York City, New York. All right. Now, what's amazing about all of this is that when I went to New York City, New York in late 1999, I only lived and stayed there for about maybe 6 to 7 to 9 months at most. I say late October, early November 1999, left probably mid-spring, late spring, early summer of 2000. All of this happened to me in just 6+ months of living there and leaving and coming back to my city, the District of Columbia. Estrada. So while I was there from late 1999, circa 1999 to early circa 2000, I was working as an assistant to a financial sales rep for MetLife Insurance, and my office and cubicle faced the back entrada to Madison Square Garden. Yes. So, real quick, I was my girlfriend at the time, and I were sharing a room in a group house in Brooklyn by the Pratt Institute college that was attended by the leading star actress of the Warriors movie of 1978 or 1979, who was in that TV sitcom Too Close for Comfort. Okay. So anyhow, I don't know how she ended up in this video, but she did. Just now. So I'm in the bedroom and it's the twilight hours. Remember, I'm irrigating, right? So crap's gonna come out, right? So I have to wake up early to catch the MTA train to head from Brooklyn back into Manhattan. I get a long distance call at like 3 o'clock in the morning. It was from the son. It was from the at the time son. It was from the son of the at the time headmaster of the St. Albans School for Boys, located on the grounds of the National Cathedral on Wisconsin Avenue Northwest in my city of the District of Columbia. 16 of their graduates from the St. Albans School for Boys became presidents of this country, the U.S. I was telephoned from a phone booth. He said to me that he telephoned me from a phone booth directly across the street from my ancestral Roman Colosseum. And that he was surrounded by his fellow graduates and Wolfpack of St. Albans School for Boys, located on the grounds of the U.S. National Cathedral. Again, where 16 of their graduates became presidents of the U.S. and sat in the Oval Office in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest, Estrada, D.C. So he says to me on the phone, "We're in Rome at a phone booth facing the Colosseum. We called you because you are the real deal." He then shouted out loud to his pack, "Hit it, boys." They then all shouted out loud, "Estrada, Estrada, 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 Estrada." When I went to say something to the son of the at the time headmaster of St. Albans School for Boys, he hung up on me. At that point, all I heard was a dial tone. Facts. Everything I say here is 100% factual and truthful. Okay. Then, in that 6+ months, I was in New York City, New York, from late circa 1999 to the first half of circa 2000 AD. I ran into Bjork. I was approached at the Pyramid Bar on Avenue A in the Lower East Side by the bassist of the band Jesse Camp and the 8th Street Kids. At the time, Jesse Camp was very popular on MTV as a host of MTV. And on their album debut, Stevie Nicks of Fleetwood Mac, I believe, even did a song with Jesse Camp of Jesse Camp and the 8th Street Kids. And I went with him over to what I think was the Palladium, and there I was introduced to BEJEWLED. Who once dated Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin and is the mother of Liv Tyler, the star actress and daughter of Steven Tyler of Aerosmith. And you know, Joe Perry's Aerosmith is in the Hollywood Vampires with Alice Cooper and Johnny Depp. and the current recent former bassist of the Spaceman of Kiss Ace Frehley and the Ace Frehley band, Chris Wise. And I'm Facebook friends with Chris Wise's manager, um, along with 700 to 800 plus other moguls, executives, legends, stars, icons of the very top, uppermost, toppermost of pop history and culture. And of the biggest, who are tied to the biggest solo and group acts of pop history and culture, and their mega billion-dollar brands, LTDs, titles, estates, and companies. Via Instagram.com, Facebook.com. I am. Okay. But let's redirect back. So then, right, this is 1994, leapfrog to 1999, 2006, right. Then, in that time of late 1999 to the first half of 2000, again, I was introduced to BBBL, and I'll never forget, she was topless. Okay. Let me not go there. Jeez. All right. So I was introduced to BBBL. Ah, gosh. I was introduced to her. I made a mistake. So it's okay. It's okay. Whatever. I was introduced to her, and then she went up and she got into it with her band. Okay. All right. That was that. Also, spring, summer of 2000, my girlfriend at the time, who I will not name, I have had a multitude of girlfriends. Okay. I mean, it's nothing. It's not about this or that. It's just those are the facts. Okay. But we were at the John Lennon Strawberry Field Imagine Circle mosaic centerpiece inside of West Central Park, across from Building 1, West 72nd Street, New York City, New York, the Dakota Building, which is where Rosemary's Baby was vastly, mostly shot and filmed and directed by Roman Polanski. And I find all of that interesting because of the coincidental links of it all, regardless of this or that, just facts. But as we know, that film director was engaged to Sharon Tate, and she was pregnant with his 8.5-month-old son to be. And that's also the site of where Rosemary's Baby was filmed, and where John Lennon, formerly of the Beatles, had happened to him what he had happened to him in front of his wife Yoko Ono. Okay, so this John Lennon Strawberry Field Imagine Circle is across the street from that. So this is, I'm surmising, guessing spring to summer of 2000, before I would return to my city, the District of Columbia. But I believe, or may very well have been the tail end of the winter of 1999 that leaked, that was inside of January, February. Okay, let's move on. So we're at the circle. That's why I'm guessing it was the spring or summer, because there were a crowd of people, as you can envision, around the John Lennon Imagine Circle. And all of a sudden, most randomly, my girlfriend at the time takes my orange vintage 70s retro shirt with the white trims around the neck and arms and pulls my shirt off of me. She takes the shirt and places it on top of the centerpiece of the John Lennon Imagine Circle. of the Strawberry Field, John Lennon, the Madden Circle of West Central Park. And she pulls out from her bag, strapped around her shoulder, a big black magic marker. A big black magic marker. And draws a black intergalactic cosmic web on the back of my shirt, placed atop of the Strawberry Field John Lennon Imagine Circle, filled with a legion of stars and diamonds from the top to the bottom of the web. And in drip down the center of the intergalactic big black cosmic web, filled with a legion of stars and diamonds, she writes, "A revolution of beauty." Now, this is most likely spring of 2000. Why is that most fascinating and interesting? Because when she pulled my shirt and took it off me without any notice, I was just like, okay, what is she doing? And I was bare-chested in front of this entire crowd of people. And she placed my shirt atop of the Imagine Circle in West Central Park and drew that. She literally drew what would become my future fate and destiny that is now eternal. Because here I sit doing this video right now, and 23 years later, I am now surrounded by 800 plus living legends, icons, superstars, executives, moguls of the biggest mega billion, super mega $1 million brands of LTDs, catalogs, companies, titles, estates of solo and super group acts of the 20th and 21st century, of pop history and culture's lost 60 to 100 years. Not only are they Facebook friends of mine or follow me from their official verified Instagram account pages, follow me back, but a multitude of them, to dozens of them, have me plastered. They have my nuked all clearism, etc. comments in my traditional ancestral Roman Latin all caps plastered all throughout their official verified Instagram account pages. At least a dozen or more of them have corresponded with me directly. We've exchanged back and forth through Instagram direct messaging. They've sent me direct notifications. They've mentioned me directly in comments. They've provided me with direct reactions. And I've even spoken with some of them on the phone. Okay. Now, I could start name dropping, but I'm going to stick to the structure. I know my hair is looking all crazy right now, but I'm going to stick to the structure of this, because then if I do that, this will turn into another long-winded video, and it's already at the 28-minute mark. So I want this to be in and out. Okay. I will add, though, my 9-hour self-narrated video of February 23, 2020, that I did on February 23, 2022, that I thought would take 4 to 5 hours, but took 9 hours, has picked up nearly 800 views without even being shared, and 200 hours of watch time. Okay. Separate from my interview with the Vice President of IT and Operations of the For Busy Bone of Bone Thugs and Harmony, who is also the system administrator for Bone Thugs and Harmony. That's picked up at least 8,000 to 10,000 hours of watch time via at least 7,600 plus to 8,000 plus downloads. Okay. And my YouTube channel, even though I haven't I've never posted a full song on my YouTube channel yet, or a complete song video. I've only posted one upload to my YouTube channel in 8 years. But yet still, because of my Facebook timeline, I've picked up about 300 hours of watch time on my YouTube channel, despite those facts, since January of 2021. Now, so she drew that on top of the Strawberry Field John Lennon Imagine Circle. I know, it's unbelievable, unbelievable. I could get into my John Lennon web and my Beatles web and my Notorious B.I.G. web and my Kiss web and my Prince web and my Michael Jackson web and my Beatles web and Doors web and my Rolling Stones web. But stop, right? Because if I do that, this will turn into another law. Yeah, so we're going to get through this, okay? In and out, in and out. So she did that. And here I am 23 years later with my DMV, Crux Crew Corps, Pantheon, Legion Familia live performance team, Studio Projects production team of 13 plus, one out of Central New Jersey, who did all of A to Z musically and historically with at least 66 plus icons of pop history and culture and of pop recording history, who sold a combined total of at least 20 billion records worldwide since Chuck Berry doled out rock and roll in the early 50s, and who did all of A to Z musically and historically with at least 30 plus marquee monarchs of every popular recording history genre of the mainstream and underground of the last 100 years. And I'm the leader. And now I've evolved into the frontman lead singer of Mutatio, FORMULAE'S, Nuked, All Clearism, which means perhaps the greatest of all ever in earth, life, and human history, multi-dimensional, multi-genre singer, rock pop singer, rapper, beat maker, melody maker, etc., as I will showcase in just a few weeks through the Anthology Storyteller Performance Showcases, which are 4 of the remaining 9 eternal events, this being a fifth eternal event remaining of the 9. Okay. Long story short, in the next several weeks, I will go from 9 eternal events down to the last 2 left. Then from there, it's time for the media formats and their insertions and meetings and conferences, deals, contracts, partnerships, investors, and investments. Now, so can you imagine that when she took my shirt off and threw it on top of John Lennon's Imagine Circle in West Central Park, across from the Dakota building of Building 1, West 72nd Street, New York City, New York? That was spring of 2000 AD. Look at where I'm at now, March of 2023 AD, as I'm doing this video right now. What she drew on the back of that shirt literally materialized and came to reality. It's astonishing. So we do the math, that's 23 years ago. She pulled my shirt and drew with that big black magic marker, that big black intergalactic cosmic web, filled with a legion and plethora of stars and diamonds, with a revolution of beauty and drip down the center. That was 23 years ago this month, this year. Wow. Okay. So then I went back to DC, took a hiatus from all of it, and then formed what would become my Stadium Arena Rock Tour de Force headlining DC band in December of 2001 up to, in December of 2001, in which we then rehearsed up to our debut, which was at DC 9 on, I believe, 9th and V Street, Northwest Estrada, DC, right down the street from the 930 Club. On what was the 23rd of August, 2004. I believe one of the bands that opened up for us was a DC-based ska, punk, jazz, rock fusion band that was led by the Emmy Award-winning front cameraman of The Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer on CNN TV. Now, I just said that, but let me make this clear. When you are where I sit on my throne now, when you are where I stand now, atop of my greatest of all versus over atop of all of what was doled out that never should have been doled out, that will never be, that never was, that does not exist, and that at best rate is real, truthful, and accurate at a rate of 50% to 25% to 0% to negative sub-zero, that I have eternally awashed and will eternally awash the last strands and stains of, along with my legion. Understand that politics has no place in my life. I hold no interest in politics. I don't. I'm not interested. Why would I come all the way down when I went through 1,000 battlefields to get all the way back, all the way up to the very top? Why would I? Why should I? It's not going to happen. Okay, so let's move forward. So that was the 23rd of August, 2004. That was our first show. We then in 2000, we played throughout 2005. We headlined several local venues throughout my upper northwest quadrant of DC. And then 2006, I was contacted. I was brought together with the career bassist of Michael Bolton. And you know, Michael Bolton sold 55 million records worldwide and scored 9 #1 hit songs on the charts. And so I was connected to David C. Gross, his career bassist, in 2006, who was the founder of Sire Records. And that was Richard Goderer. And Richard Goderer signed Television, the band that impressed David Bowie to the point in 1973 that he was interviewed by the Village Voice, and it was David Bowie's commentary upon him seeing Television, the first band to play inside of CBGB's OMFUG in New York City, New York on Bowery. And that's what led to the beginning and the inception of what CBGBs would become. So Richard Goderer signed, he founded Sire Records. He signed television. He got it all kicked off for CBGB because of David Bowie's commentary in an interview with the Village Voice magazine, or the Village Voice paper, rather, in 1973. He signed Deborah Harry's band. He signed the house band of CBGB's The Dead Boys. He signed the Talking Heads. Pretty sure he signed the Queen of Pop, Madonna, before she became the Queen of Pop. And he signed the founding father and godfather of hardcore gangster rap, Ice-T. And he produced the historic legendary album debut of the Go-Go's called Beauty and the Beat, that was released on IRS Records in 1981. So in 2006, Michael Bolton's career bassist listened to the demo of originals, all written by me, of my led, formed and founded Stadium Arena Tour de Force powerhouse rock band. I think that we were still called a Revolution of Beauty before I changed the name to Mutatio Formae. My root Latin for mutation forms. And Michael Bolton's career bassist was so impressed that he said, this is powerful, a powerful wall of sound. It's original. I'll share it with Richard Goddard, the founder of Sire Records. And he did. And I then became the member of an elite club. Richard Goddard told David Gross he was not interested. David Gross then said to me, Richard Goddard is not interested. So I said, what do you think the problem was? He said, for one, you lack the most important ingredient in this demo. I said, what's that? He said, you've got originality and strength. Your material is strong and powerful, and it's original, but you lack the most important ingredient of all. I said, what's that? He said, think of Jumping Jack Flash by the Rolling Stones and Whole Lotta Love by Led Zeppelin. It was a big wall of sound and heavy, but what did it have? I said, what's that? He said, groove. It had a groove and a bounce to it. Even though the guitars were drop heavy and loud, it was still played with a rhythmic groove. You have originality, you have power, you have strength, but you don't have the most important ingredient, groove. I later found out and discovered on my own that I now became a member of an elite club as of 2006 AD. So let's go back to 1965, 1966 AD. It's Manhattan, New York City, New York. The girlfriend of Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones at the time forms a band around an unknown artist who goes by the name of Jimmy Hendrix. Yeah. So she takes one of Keith Richards' guitars that has, I believe, Keith Richards' name on the back of the guitar, because they're his customized guitars, Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones. Only one of the greatest songwriters and guitarists of the kings of rock and roll ever. Okay. Keith, what's up, man? Nick, what's up? What's up? So, in 1966, I think she heard Jimi Hendrix playing as one of the backup guitar players for the Isley Brothers at the Cafe Wall in Greenwich Village in New York City, New York in 65 or 66. She volunteers to become his manager and forms a band called Jimmy James and the Blue Flames. So now he went by Jimmy James. His backup band were the Blue Flames. She gets Richard Goddard, who rejected me in 2006 AD, to come into the Cafe Wall to listen to the new band she's shaped around Jimi Hendrix called Jimmy James and the Blue Flames. He says he's not interested after seeing them perform in front of him. It's in the movie All By My Side, starring Andre 3000 of Outkast portraying Jimi Hendrix. The name of the movie is All By My Side. Okay. So I later learned and discovered and found that I now was a part of an elite club as of 2006 that was rejected by Richard Goddard of Sire Records, who also rejected Jimi Hendrix. Before Jimi Hendrix would fly across the Atlantic, sign a contract with the bassist of the Animals, and become the lead A to Z of the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Okay. Now, one other factor. So, with that band in 1966 in Manhattan, Jimi Hendrix's New York City band, Jimmy James and the Blue Flames, Jimi Hendrix recruited a bass player. That bassist became one of the Blue Flames. They met at a historic, legendary musical instrument shop in Manhattan. I forget the name of the place. That musician is named Jeffrey Skunk Baxter. Jeffrey Skunk Baxter became the bassist of Jimi Hendrix's band put together by the girlfriend of Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones out of Manhattan in 65, 66 called Jimmy James and the Blue Flames. Now, what's the connectivity? One of the co-captains of my DMV Pantheon Crux Crew Corps Legion Familia live performance team, studio projects production team, Rural True Come to Life, Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album cover, single-handedly self-amassed and assembled mostly by me, with a little help from my friends and members of my team. Assembly of legends and masters and greats and stars, of titans and colossals and gargantuans and juggernauts, of not only pop recording history, but straight out of the DMV. Okay, that's my team. Jeffrey Skunk Baxter, who was the bassist of Jimi Hendrix's band, Jimmy James and the Blue Flames, put together by Keith Richards' girlfriend at the time, is the current bandmate, present tense today, right now as I'm doing this video, with one of the co-captains of my DMV team, Robert Mousy Thompson, the former personal drummer of the Godfather of Soul and forefather of Funk, James Brown. And they're in a band called the American All-Star Vinyl Band. I believe Jeffrey Skunk Baxter is the lead rhythm guitarist of that band currently right now. He was the bass player recruited by Jimi Hendrix as one of Jimmy James and the Blue Flames. After Jimmy James and the Blue Flames disbanded, Jeffrey Skunk Baxter went on to form Steely Dan. Then he joined the Doobie Brothers. When he joined the Doobie Brothers, he brought in with him Michael McDonald. As a member of the Doobie Brothers, they were featured on 2 back-to-back episodes of the classic television sitcom and one of my favorite ever, What's Happening? As in Rerun, Raj and Dwayne and Dee and Mama Mabel, King, who was the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wiz. Co-starring the King of Pop as the Scarecrow and Diana Ross and the rest. Now, he also played guitar for Celine Dion, Elton John, and laid down guitar tracks for the Kiss Gene Simmons, The Demon of Kiss solo album. That was my first full LP on record that my dad and mom got for me on the morning of our Holy Roman Latin holiday of Christmas Day morning of 12/25/1978. That was the very first full LP I owned because my dad and mom got that for me for our Roman Latin holiday of Christmas. The 25th of December, 1978, the Kiss Gene Simmons solo album. So, Jeffrey Skunk Baxter was on that album. Then I learned that another Facebook friend of mine, Mitch Weissman, who was the co-lead vocalist and bassist of the Broadway smash hit musical of 77 and 79, Beatlemania. Mitch Weissman, who I believe he worked with Kiss, I believe Styx, Foreigner, yes. I may have some of it wrong, but I know that some of it's right. I believe Cheap Trick. He and I are Facebook friends. We have corresponded multiple times. Okay. So, I learned that he was one of the background vocalists for the Kiss Gene Simmons solo album. That was my first full LP given to me on Christmas of 1978. And that he did the background vocals to my favorite songs off of that when I was 7 to 8. Man of 1,000 Faces, Mr. Make-Believe. I'm not sure if he was on Always Near You, Nowhere to Hide. All right. Now, so Jeffrey Skunk Baxter was a member of Jimi Hendrix's band, Jimmy James and the Blue Flames. He's now in a side project band with my co-captain, the former personal drummer of James Brown, who played for Wilson Pickett and the Midnight Movers for 10 years. He played for Eddie Kendricks of the Temptations, as in Motown Records. He played for Bootsy Collins of James Brown's JB's and Funkadelic, Parliament Funkadelic. And Peaches and Herb. And when he did, they opened up for Sammy Davis Jr. in Las Vegas. Now, I just spoke with my co-captain and dear friend, who was James Brown's former personal drummer just a few days ago. Okay. So, let's go back to 2006. I'm notified by Michael Bolton's career bassist that the producer of the debut album of the Go-Go's rejected my 2006 demo of originals. And we're going to stop there with this video. That's 1994, Leapfrog from 1994 to 1999 to 2000 to 2006. All right, under an hour. Excuse me. Now get ready for 2006 to 2013. And you'll see this nuclear mushroom cloud started in 99 to 06. And then from 06, it just started expanding. Then from 2013 to 2023, it evolved, transmutated into the biggest nuclear mushroom cloud of legend, legacy, epic, history, record making, and breaking outside of 6 categories: record sales, tour sales, recording nominations, recording awards, cameos in soundtracks, film, and TV, and RIAA certifications, because I've never released a single, an EP, or an LP, or a book, or documentary movie. But yet I'm surrounded by all that I am, yet all is around me, from root to crown. All are hardwired, 800 plus of the uppermost, toppermost of pop history and culture's last 60 years, who did all of A to Z musically and historically with the very uppermost and toppermost and marquee monarchs of pop history and culture's last 100 years. And I've never even released a single song, let alone an EP or an LP. I've never put out a song video. I've never put out a biopic film, a documentary film, a book. But that's all going to change from here on. So from 2013 to 2023, I would say specifically from the very night of Friday the 13th, December 2013, to now, it all transformed for me and mutated in MUTATIO FORMULAE'S into the largest, biggest, roundest, tallest, deepest, widest nuclear mushroom cloud of legend, legacy, epic history, triumph, conquest, dominion, victory, glory, and records made and broken to devour my city, the District of Columbia, the DMV region, the USA, all members of the General Assembly of the UN and their 195 members and member states. The very uppermost and toppermost of pop history and culture's last 100 years, and the entire compass and webs and threads and nets of the cosmos, the universe. It is what it is. Viva Hispania, viva Latia, viva Athena, viva Roma. Viva Mutatio Formulae. Okay. So we're going to stop here. It's 2006. I'm going to stop. Where is it now? It's at 58 minutes and 40 plus seconds. So we'll round this out to 60 minutes flat. 1 hour video. All right. Okay. When you listen to all that I just squeezed into this 60 minutes, it is greatest of earth, life, and human history already. And I haven't even gotten to 2006 to 2013 or 2013 to 2023 to then go back in reverse, go back in retrograde to when my most imperial and majestic Romano, Emperor Adonis' teen father, first landed, settled, conquered, and would eternally cement, in conjunction and collabo with my mother and the paterno grandparents of my heiress and empress daughter. We, the Estradas of the District of Columbia, of the upper northwest quadrant of the very North Star central point of North Arlington, Virginia. Mutatio, FORMULAE.